Now, we are going to the first section of the conference. It will be devoted to contributions of basic and applied sciences to sustainability. Within that, the first session will be chaired by Dr. Michel Spiro, please, and there will be other 4 speakers in the session, and after the talks, they have a 30-minute discussion.
Okay, so we will first, before we start, I want to thank the speakers for these very illuminating opening addresses that we heard. I want also to thank the organizers for yesterday's introductory session. This was a great event in Boca, and we enjoyed it yesterday evening. And now we are entering the core of the conference, the sessions, the panel sessions. So this is the first panel session. As it was mentioned, this is on contributions of basic and applied sciences to sustainability. We will have 4 panelists. First, Marian Nkansah from Ghana University, Department of Chemistry, University of Science and Technology, African Academy of Science, and Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences. She is a chemist. We have Hugo Bardi, Professor Hugo Bardi from National Interuniversity Consortium of Materials Science and Technology, University of Florence, Italy. We have Gian Francesco Giudice, Head of Theoretical Physics Department, European Organization for Nuclear Research, CERN, well known in Geneva. And we have Borko Furht from Florida Atlantic University, Boca, Raton, USA, Director, National Science Foundation, Industry University Cooperative Research Center for Advanced Knowledge Enablement. So we have 4 very good panelists. We will start by 15 minutes, if you can, presentation by each of you. And then I may ask you questions if we have time. And then I will open the for questions and comments from the audience. That's fine?
Are we going to speak from here?
Please speak from there. So the first speaker will be Borko Furht on data science and artificial intelligence. So this is mathematics and computer science. So if you can, 15 minutes, this would be ideal.
Good morning. I will start with something that has nothing to do with this conference. A few days ago, I went through internet. I found this picture. Probably you cannot see very well, but I will tell you. These are Albert Einstein and Charlie Chaplin. And then they said, when Albert Einstein and Charlie Chaplin met in 1931, Einstein said, "What I admire most about your art is your universality. You do not say a word, and yet the word understands you." In other words, you know Charlie Chaplin, silent movies, and the whole world was impressed with Charlie Chaplin. But then Charlie Chaplin answered, "It is true," replied Chaplin, "but your fame is even greater, Einstein. The world admires you, and they don't understand what you are talking about." I'm telling you this, then I was thinking my presentation, should I be silent or should I tell you all these equations in AI that nobody will understand? And at the end of my presentation, probably you will all forget in a few years about this presentation, but you will understand, you will remember Charlie Chaplin and Albert Einstein. So, Mr. Michel mentioned we are running so-called NSF Indus University Cooperative Research Center for Advanced Knowledge Enablement. We received in 2009, so we are 16 years already in business. nice grant from National Science Foundation of US in the field of, at that time, AI, data science. We didn't know the name, so we called this for advanced knowledge enablement. However, today we are doing all this AI. So my presentation will be two parts. First, to give you the infrastructure, how we do this, and how NSF created all these ideas. I call this our sustainability. We'll see in a second. Second part, I have a little, did I bring here? Hold on. Second part, if I have time, I will show you some real products. I'm an engineer, I'm a scientist, so I brought some products that can fit here, but they're all related to AI, data science, and all this. So let me start with first slide, which is, I took this from ChatGPT, how they look at AI sustainability, and the whole conference will be about this. They divided this into three parts: environmental sustainability, economic, and social. Then I put Elon Musk. You know who Elon Musk is, the richest man, Tesla cars, and SpaceX. He's been married many times. He had lots of lovers. He has 14 kids. His AI sustainability is completely different. He built now the whole group of, they call this now AI agents. They're all women. There is one woman who you can get the drinks from her and so on. And I have here the video, but we don't have time to run this video. So for him, probably data AI sustainability is completely different than for many other people. For us, in our center, AI sustainability means three things: connection between academia, industry, and government. This is how we sustain everything what we are doing today, and we have already 16 years of experience with, you will see very briefly, because I don't have too much time. This is our model. We call this Interuniversity. We have in the back of the campus number of companies, incubator. We have this center. We have laboratories. We call them industry university labs. Number of companies provided instrumentation, equipment, working with us. Here is the model. And I was in Serbia. I'm from Serbia originally, went to US many years ago. However, I proposed, and there is some work in this. There is an AI institute where my former PhD student is director. He's professor in Novi Sad, Dubravko Čulibrk. They are now following this model, and maybe whoever is from Serbia know that we have AI institute that are following similar model. How this model works: NSF provides initial funding, and then industry provides memberships. Membership can be very low, 50K. However, can be one company gave us $1 million. And I always say they don't give us because we have beautiful blue eyes. They give us in order to do something for them jointly. And we did about 55 projects. Here is our research focus that we presented in 2009. Of course, you can see many different vertical applications and research areas. Everything is now in AI. And here we have today 46 members. Interestingly enough, one of the companies is from Belgrade, Vlatacom. You can find the name here, which are very powerful companies. As a matter of fact, on Friday, I'm going to meet with their CEO and owner again, and they are paying us membership. We already did the 2 projects with Vlatacom, which is a very successful, I would say, military company with surveillance systems, with rockets. If you follow the parade, they had rockets on our parade a few days ago. And you can see the big companies, for example, Google was our member for a while, not anymore, Motorola, and so on, and lots of small companies who come to us with a membership in order to complete the project, some joint project. Here are examples when they sign the checks, when they come and talk to us. These are CEOs of the companies. These are our typical meetings that we have twice a year, similar to this, when all these industries come, our professors, our students, usually graduate students, and we discuss the future. We have so-called NSF technology breakthroughs, where every 2 years NSF prints the book. You can see the cover of the book, and they present what are technology breakthroughs from all these centers. So in the last book, we had 4 technology breakthroughs. These are how joint university industry labs look like. I'm going quickly to show you some of the products because this is the most interesting part. This is the research center in the back. You can see lots of buildings, 27 companies with 1,000 high-tech jobs, incubator with 24 startup companies. So we work together, university and all these companies. So this is, to me, the real win-win situation that many times I proposed also to Serbia, where companies, universities, and government work together. Here's an example with Google, when Google people came and we signed a contract with them. And now success stories. I'm going to start with an old success story because this is interesting to see what university can do with a company. Here you can see myself, this was 15 years ago, when Paul Heinz, this is the other person, came to me and said, I have a very good idea, I have a company here, but we are in Boca Raton, and you know there are lots of old people in Boca Raton. He said many old people complain they lost pictures of their grandkids. Why? Because the disc broke, they don't know how to fix it. I try to fix. Can you create something? And we created for him. He gave us a very little membership, 50,000. And then this is his product. They call Survive Disk. He made in China, but we build the software. And he immediately got a contract with Walmart for 1.2 million. So he invested 50,000 for membership. We get $1 for each one sold. This was all 15 years ago. And this was an example how companies and universities, he didn't know how to do it. I gave to one of professor and one graduate student. In one semester, they built this, how to save. You put this is a memory stick, you put into computer, and there is a big thing for all people or for anybody else, save, restore. In other words, you press the button, all this useful software that you build, pictures. Today we have cameras and telephones. This is obsolete, but this was very popular. He got a contract, 1.2 million. After that, he disappeared, and we are always joking he probably went to Hawaii, built a house there, and probably had another contract. Another interesting example, this is a little bigger company. And I have the product that we did. Anybody recognizes this, you can read. This is to measure your temperature. At that time, this was about 2016, 9 years ago, how we measure the temperature, either here or in the mouth. Now we measure temperature like this. How does it work? This is with a special thing that imitates and measures the energy. What happened here? Okay. And we created, they said, can you help us to create this? We created this, we connected to the phone, to the computer, and this was the first, they call this intertemper, that again the company, ARC Technologies is the name of the company, and they, in the Time magazine, they included this, something shows up all the time. So this was another success story, again, many years ago. Now, 5 more minutes? Yeah, I'm almost done. Then we have several NSF projects when we had first Ebola and then later COVID. Across the street from university is the company LexisNexis, which is #1 leader in big data analytics. They have, so they became the member. They have a database of all people in the United States, where they live, where they work, everything. Probably 10 to 20 pages about every person in the United States. We had a little contract with them, and we built something that detects, I don't have this picture here, I usually have a picture. If somebody gets COVID or Ebola, this was before COVID, then they connect all people around, families, friends, and immediately informs them. So software detects through their database all these people. At that time, we presented, this was 2015, to Florida. Florida was one of the best states in both Ebola and COVID immediately to detect, because people didn't know that somebody in your, for example, company got COVID. Through this software immediately, if somebody in the company has, or the friends, immediately software detected through this database, informed this, and immediately they can take some actions. So this was Senator from Florida, Bill Nelson. They sent us a very nice letter that we really improved all these health issues related to, at that time, Ebola, and then later COVID. This was the latest project, and probably the last one, and then I will finish, that uses the latest AI. The company is called Giudice. This is the biggest company selling parts, airline parts, to all. They claim they have airline parts for Delta, all European companies, United, and so on. And their CEO knocked on our doors and came and said, we have a big issue. And you probably, I was witness of this, and I'm sure many of you were witnesses of this issue that airline companies have. And he gave me this example. Delta flight goes to Beijing, and then just one part fails. What happens? They have to order this part from United States. The part will come to Beijing. They have to fix the plane, and then the plane will be ready. In the meantime, they cancel this flight, they cancel many connecting flights, and of course they lose money. They had some statistical packages. Airplanes have more than 1,000 parts. They said, can you use AI to predict for every part how long will last? And based on this prediction, let's say you predict this part will last 10 years, then Delta company or any other will know I'm going to replace this part a little bit earlier than 10 years. And this will not happen. I'm sure to everybody, it happened to me recently. I was flying to Europe. They said the plane is broke, come tomorrow, so everything. And I was going to cruise. I lost the cruise. It was terrible. So we developed this. We already published a paper. Now they're implemented. Giudice was implemented. They became member. Their CEO came to us, and I said, he asked me, what is the membership? I said, membership is minimum $50K. He gave us $100,000. And I said, okay, you gave us membership $100,000, you will probably make several millions. He said, no, we will make several $1 billion on this. And I said, what about us? He said, we will give you a few more projects. So I hope that he will give us more projects. This is the last thing that is happening. You probably all you know ChatGPT, but the same company, OpenAI, are building, there is already out, Sora. We have this software that you write a prompt. You have to be good prompt engineer, and then there is a 1-minute video. This will make a big revolution in making movies, making commercials. Lots of people will lose jobs in this field because now AI will make any video. This example was, you can read, but I'm not going to go through details. Give me a woman walking in a blue dress in Tokyo in the evening. So these are text-to-video projects. This is my last slide. Just has nothing to do with my presentation. Just to tell you, we are talking about sustainability. In America, we had a big presentations and big discussions about topics which I believe are very important. And here are the topics. Is AI in bubble? Will AI take all our jobs? What jobs are at risk? What jobs likely to change? New jobs. Top professional most at risk. Top professional likely to grow. Will AI replace university professors? Could AI, this is very critical topic that maybe it's related to sustainability. Could AI wipe out humanity? There are many even researchers who claim that sooner or later AI will kill all of us. I personally disagree, but who knows what can happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Borko, for this great presentation. So we move now to the next presentation by Gian Francesco Giudice, CERN and the role of big science in society. So this is basic physics. Thank you very much.
Could you set it, please? Okay. Can you? Oh, it's not. So thank you very much. After World War II, the United States witnessed an explosion of publicly funded scientific projects. Many US economists saw scientific research and technological innovation as keys to constant economic growth, producing jobs and prosperity, helping to solve social problems and cure political instabilities. Basic science and scientific research were regarded as essential links in this logical chain. Vannevar Bush, which is the influential US scientific administrator, asserted the importance of fundamental research in a report submitted to President Truman in 1945. He said, "The simplest and most effective way in which the government can strengthen industrial research is to support basic research and to develop scientific science." So Bush identified basic research as an essential factor in promoting progress, claiming that technology is an inescapable consequence of leading-edge science. According to Bush, basic research is the pacemaker of technological progress. And the economist and presidential advisor John Steelman asserted in an analogous point of view in 1947, only through research and more research in the basic sciences can we provide the basis for an expanding economy and continued high level of employment. Then in 1961, Yuri Gagarin shocked the Western world by becoming the first man to journey the space. And this initiated the race to the moon, which enjoyed wide political and public support in the United States and worldwide. This euphoric atmosphere of the post-war period also came with criticism and doubt about large publicly funded scientific projects, not only from society, but also within the scientific community. For instance, in 1961, Alvin Weinberg, the director of Oak Ridge National Lab, which played an important role at the time of the Manhattan Project, published an influential essay on the impact of large scientific projects, in which actually he coined the term big science for the first time. He wondered whether big science would ruin science, identifying some issues which are still valid today. He said, in the first place, since big science needs great public support, it thrives on publicity. The inevitable result is the injection of a journalistic flavor into big science, which is fundamentally in conflict with the scientific method. The spectacular, rather than the perceptive, becomes the scientific standard. Actually, in the same article, Alan Weinberg performed a calculation extrapolating the rate of growth of the cost of scientific research since the end of the war to 1961, when he wrote the article, and concluded that in another 20 years, science would ruin the United States financially. Of course, this prediction certainly turned out to be wrong, but his concern gives us a measure of the exceptional US investments in research during the post-war period. And Weinberg's worry was a symptom of the disillusionment towards science that accompanied the social transformations and the political movements of the 60s and the 70s. The public became aware that technology brings not only progress, but can also lead to social injustice, environmental damage. So just an example, the philosopher Herbert Marcuse, who much influenced the generation of the 1968 protest, maintained that science, by its very nature, induces an inhuman way of thought. Technology is an engine of oppression. So as you see, mistrust for science is not a recent invention. Today, however, assessing the sustainability of any large scientific project is an absolute priority. Sustainability is a necessary requirement to justify any project in front of the public, but also to satisfy the ethical responsibility that is felt very strongly by most scientists. And when one thinks of large-scale scientific projects, often CERN comes to mind. CERN hosts the LHC, which is the most powerful particle accelerator ever built by humanity. And it is thanks to the LHC that scientists could discover the Higgs boson in 2012. And to continue the exploration of the microscopic world, CERN has ambitious new plans. The flagship project is a particle accelerator, even more powerful than the LHC, to be hosted by a new 91-kilometer tunnel. The project is called FCC, Future Circular Collider. The FCC has a broad range in its scientific program, developed in different phases, each with a different purpose. For instance, it allows us to measure the properties of the Higgs boson with enormous precision. For example, it would be possible to observe a substructure of the Higgs boson at distances as small as millionth of the radius of a proton. And CERN recently completed a feasibility study for the FCC, covering all aspects, from technology to finance, and great attention is being paid to the project's sustainability and its environmental impact in all its facets, from energy consumption to the reuse of materials. So, for instance, studies have been conducted on the recycling of the excavated material, which is significant because it involves 8.5 million cubic meters of material, which then can be reused as construction material, or even, as shown by a project at CERN, converted into fertile soil. But also, the architecture, the design is carefully thought to have the least impact on the environment. Here you see some photograph of the real place and what will become, and you see the great attention in trying to merge with the environment. The total cost of the project is about 30 billion euro, but it must be considered that this figure is spread over a period of way more than 50 years. So today we face dramatic problems like climate change, epidemics, poverty, sustainable energy production, and the environment. So why on earth should society invest in particle physics research? And for me, the answer lies in the role of science in society. History has shown that science is essential to addressing large-scale challenges. Science is essential not only for addressing crises, but also for anticipating and avoiding them. Take climate change, for example. I mean, science has identified the human impact on global warming since the 1980s and has warned society of its dangers. And it took a very long time for society to accept the scientific truth, and much precious time was wasted and is still being wasted. So now, more than ever, society needs science to address the problem. Of course, I'm not saying that the solution to climate change will come from particle accelerators, but I'm saying that progress in science cannot be made by focusing only on a single aspect of the problem. Progress is only possible through a global program that advances science on all fronts. It's not a matter of choosing between applied and fundamental science. As theoretical physicist Steven Weinberg said, a society that decides it will support applied science and not waste money on pure science is likely to end up with neither.
2 minutes.
Okay. Applied and fundamental science feeds off each other to their mutual benefit and form a virtuous circles that leads to progress. CERN is a perfect example of this. CERN's mission is fundamental in science, but to achieve these goals, it is necessary to develop advanced technology. This is what led to the World Wide Web developed at CERN to allow physicists to share data and information, but then offered free of charge to society. And the technologies developed for the construction of particle accelerators and detectors have had enormous implications: imaging for medical diagnostics, cancer treatments with hydrotherapy, 3D color X-rays, and many others. This process of exchange between pure and applied science will continue with future accelerators. So some argue, isn't it easier to fund useful technology and ignore the motivation for basic research? For me, this is a flawed and unrealistic way of thinking. Technological innovation at this level simply doesn't happen without a strong push of fundamental science, just as fundamental science doesn't happen without technological developments. And various economists have estimated that the money invested in the LHC project has had a very positive return on society from many points of view. And in his study for the future of European competitiveness, Mario Draghi identified CERN as a model to follow in this sense. And Ursula von der Leyen also said that CERN is a living proof of that science fosters innovation and that innovation fosters science. I mean, it's difficult to set an accurate and meaningful price on the value of knowledge, on the cultural impact of scientific discoveries, on the human desire to understand the organizing principles of nature. But it is easier to identify a reciprocal causal link between progress in knowledge and economics, social and industrial development. Each strengthened the other in a symbiotic relationship. And today's technological developments were the subject of basic research in the past. Also, I want to stress that basic research, because of its universal character and freedom, okay, I'm finishing, from economic and military interest, is particularly suited for promoting international collaboration. And it even encourages cooperation between hostile nations. And an example that I wanted to present is Sesame, which is a research project based in Jordan, but operated by a scientific collaboration involving Israel, Iran, various Middle East countries, as well as a Palestinian national authority. I will finish, given that my 20 minutes are done, although 20 minutes, I think, they went faster than planned.
15 minutes.
I just want to conclude with a comment that every civilization, every historical epoch leaves a legacy to future generations. I believe that the legacy of our society will be found in the revolutionary scientific discoveries that we are making today. And the goal of fundamental science is to explore the unknown. And reaching this goal is not just the aspiration of a small group of scientists. I believe it has been the aspiration of humanity since the beginning of civilization. The moment humanity abandons the aspiration of understanding how nature works, we will abandon what defines the meaning of human civilization. Thank you.
Thank you, Gian Giudice, for this very inspiring presentation. Thank you. Yes, I try to be a little bit tougher than what I said. I want to have it in 15 minutes so that we have time for discussion. So now we have Ugo Bardi on not just global warming. This is about CO2. CO2 is also a pollutant.
So, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here, and I will have about 15 minutes, maybe a few more, to tell you about a project in small science, which I think is the way science is going, not because there is anything wrong with big science, but because a certain kind of money doesn't exist anymore. So this work I will be telling you has been done by a network of scientists, done for the pleasure of doing it, for the interest of doing it, almost with zero financing, except for a small support for the Club of Rome, which I have to thank for this. Now, sorry for this rather dramatic image, because it looks like you can imagine in your mind now thunder and lightning, but this molecule, CO2, is fundamental in our life. We do not perceive it. We don't feel it. We can measure it with this. This is a CO2 detector. It is measuring now 1,300 parts per million. And you see it doing beep, beep, because it's telling you it is not so good. It's the atmosphere in this room is not dangerous, don't worry, don't run away, but it is higher than it should be. It's not so bad because this room is ventilated, and we can survive for a long time with 1,200 ppm, parts per million of CO2, but we don't perceive it. It is so important for us, but we don't have sensors. We have them inside, but not outside. Yet, there is a great interest in this molecule, and I think it's the only molecule which has a political relevance. There is a molecular politics. Some people love CO2, some people hate it. And the question is important. It is very important. You know this, but you know the debate, you know the global warming, you know pollution, you know fossil fuels, you know combustion, you know all this, but what should be? What is the role of CO2 in your health, in the health of the ecosystem, in everything we do? Now, I would start with a little general thing, very general. CO2 is fundamental, it's unbelievable, important in the ecosystem. It's the key point, the thing around which everything moves. It has so many effects. Sometimes we are so focused on climate change, global warming, that in some papers by climate scientists, you read CO2 is an inert gas. It is not at all. It's an acid. It is an acid. It has effects on plants, animals, life, water. Everything you do is affected by CO2. And I would like to focus today on the health risks of this increase that we have here, which is not so bad, but it exists. And since I know that you love chemistry, at least, and you love chemical equations, right? But please spend 2 minutes to consider that our existence on this planet, in fact, your being alive, depends on this cycle. There are many other cycles, not the only one, but this one is the cycle of photosynthesis, which produces oxygen, and the cycle, or the metabolic cycle, if you like to call it, the Krebs cycle, or the citric acid cycle, the one which produces the energy that powers your body and your brain. Think about that. Take your hands here. You have this big bulb on top of your shoulders. It's enormous. Think about that. No animal has such a big head. And it needs oxygen all the time, this thing. You cannot work without oxygen. And you know how long you can resist without oxygen here? In some condition, you can resist a few minutes, no more. Your thing inside here needs 20% of your metabolic energy, and if your blood stops bringing it here, you die. That's it. And you cannot stop it. You sleep, you walk, you eat, you make love, or whatever you do, but you still need to bring oxygen to your brain. Otherwise, you die. There is no stopping. It's a rat race. And if you like, you can describe how this incredibly complicated mechanism, once you enter into it, you discover how incredibly complex this story is. You have to breathe oxygen, go through the lungs, then the alveoli, then it has to change with blood, but oxygen is not soluble inside blood. So you need a special carrier molecule, which is called hemoglobin. Hemoglobin must know when to load oxygen and when to discharge oxygen, where and when you need it. By the way, for the physicists, this Bohr is not the same, not Niels Bohr, another Bohr. Otherwise, he would have been doing too many things. And there are good reasons we have some models telling you that the concentration of CO2 in the atmosphere, and more exactly the ratio of O2 to CO2, is all important in governing and determining the rate of the reaction that keeps you alive. What keeps you alive right now, in this moment where you are sitting now, you are alive because this reaction moves, and the ratio of oxygen to CO2 determines how much energy you get inside your body. Unfortunately, this is basic thermodynamics. We cannot really determine it from a theoretical point of view. Maybe one day we will be able. This is very recent developments, but we do measurements in your brain, and the question is what is happening now? You see, our ancestors, Homo sapiens, even before Homo neanderthalensis and before the Homo habilis or whatever, they evolved at a CO2 concentration of 260. 320. Before the Industrial Revolution, we had about 280. But now we are there, and we are correctly worried about global warming because CO2 has a physical effect. It is a climate forcing agent which is warming the Earth, but also what is the effect of these concentrations on your brains, considering that none of our ancestors ever lived their lives at these concentrations, and those concentrations which we will be experimenting in the coming years. And inside rooms, indoors, we have, as I showed you, more than 1,000. What's going to happen? What's going on? And there are some empirical data. Essentially, this thing has been known for a long time. You can die. CO2, it's a poison, too much. 5% of CO2 kills you rapidly. It can happen. It's very rare. You need to be close to a volcano, typically, to experience these high concentrations. But the question is what happens for concentrations which are way below. You see, I told you, I measured right now more than 1,200, which is loss of concentration. Loss of concentration. That's been known for a while. Nothing bad. Typical at conferences, you have high CO2, and that's why so many people sleep in the audience. But we went to experiment this. We published a paper with a group of people who love to do science, just because they like science, and we published this in the Journal of the Royal Society of Chemistry. And this is a review. We went to try to go through the literature and see what happens to you. And it's very interesting. Main effects, I won't go through all what we found because it is fantastic. But it is not negligible. Not negligible. If you want to know this in detail, please read the paper, but it may scare you a little bit because so many bad things can happen to you if you breathe continuously a lot of CO2 for a long time. And some people say, oh, well, but it is greening the earth. It is food for plants. Well, that also we went to examine, and there is no evidence that it can provide more food for humans. It is actually CO2 makes plants obese because you're really forcing the plant to do more than it is optimized for a certain condition, and you push the plant like you feed geese for fattening to get foie gras. It's the same thing. It is no good for plants, but there is a lot of propaganda on this point, unfortunately. And this is not in our paper, but I'm working at a new paper. And this, maybe you are not so much worried about fruit flies and moths and butterflies, but it shows how delicate the ecosystem is. Delicate. 5 minutes, okay. Delicate, extremely. It takes very little to change. Like, for instance, moths, you know what moths are. They seek for food. They have detectors, and they seek for food, finding for leaves which are metabolic active. But then you change the concentration, and they got lost. And this is the goddess Gaia, by the way, so kindly sending me a picture of her. Just not to be too pessimistic, these high CO2 concentrations may be bad for mosquitoes. They have some difficulties to find us. So at least something good. And so in a brief conclusion, I could stop here, but anyway, you see how many things can happen, and they are happening. We are moving into a field in which we don't know where we are going. If we were sure that concentration would stay where it is now, 420 parts per million, okay, the problem it is increasing, and that nothing is being done to stop it. So 2 more slides, just quickly. if you like to see the story a little bit more in perspective, this is about 500 million years. And then you see how it changed. The oxygen has always been more or less around 20, 30%, but we are in a period in which we had a moment of extremely low CO2 concentration, and now you see how human activity has bumped it up. And I told you that it depends on the ratio. The important thing is the oxygen to CO2 ratio. Let me show you this. This will amaze you. Do you see what we are doing to the system? We have this huge spike in CO2, which in my opinion was the origin of human intelligence for lots of considerations. But then you see the enormous change we are creating. Really, we don't know what we are doing. The only thing we know, to cite a friend of mine, is that we want to do more of it and faster. But we don't know what we are doing. And well, think about that, because some people will tell you, oh, just a few hundred parts per million. Okay, maybe. But think that the change has been enormous. And I wrote another paper on this subject. And if you want to know more, please read it. It's a preprint. Criticism, suggestions, ideas are welcome. And so if you would like to contribute to this study, we are open to individual scientists, possibly white-haired scientists, who want to do science for the sake of doing science because we like it. And this is the real conclusion, last slide. What we need to do, and the first thing is obvious, you know it, we need to stop growing this damn thing, and we must remove it eventually, go back to the conditions in which our ancestors, probably smarter than us, evolved. And there is no way that we can cure the story with engineering, solar management engineering. It doesn't work. Plant trees, repair forests, cultivate algae. Be careful to your brain. Your brain is very precious. You have only one, and you have to keep it working. Do it because it's so easy for the brain to go bonkers. And this picture below was taken yesterday together with Kiev. She took this picture. It is here in Belgrade. You have this public algae cultivations, which are supposed to create oxygen and remove CO2. Sorry. So we need a mix of technology, of understanding, and this is what science can say and propose. But then, if we want really to do something, we need to touch the hearts of people. And for this, we need art. So with my colleague, Kiev, we have been discussing this yesterday, and I hope that she will find a way to save the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Great talk. Thank you very much. We come to the last presentation, but not least. Marian Nkansah on chemistry and society.
Good morning, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. My task this morning is to talk about chemistry and society, but before I do that, please indulge me to talk a bit about where I'm coming from. I come from Ghana, which is on the west coast of Africa. As you can see here where the yellow sign is, some basic statistics about Ghana. Where I work is in the Ashanti region of Ghana. We have 16 administrative regions in the country, and the capital of that region is Kumasi, where the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, where I work at, is situated. And the university is named after the first president of our country, who incidentally yesterday was his birthday. The Ashanti region is unique in a way, and because this morning we are talking about art and science, I try to find a way of linking that to my topic. It's the cultural hub of the country. It houses the cultural center of the country, and art and culture are very much connected for us. It is very unique for art forms such as the Adinkra symbols and the Kente weaving. These Adinkra symbols communicate wisdom, idioms, and also some social beliefs, and they are used and design of all forms, particularly also in the design of the Kente cloth, which is very unique in Ghana, handmade. So these two are very much connected. Kente these days can have some of these symbols in them, and you find the origins in Kumasi, where I'm coming from. All these other art forms which are common across the globe are also found there, from pottery to wood carvings, among others. Interestingly, recently, my university has instituted a contemporary art incubator called the Black Star Lines for students and young artists to connect and then explore and share ideas. One interesting fact is also that my university started as a college of art, but now is a University of Science and Technology. And this is the main entrance, imposing from Accra, about 250 kilometers, if you like to come. And when you move about 600 meters around the runabout, you get to the center of the university, and my building is about 200 meters from the center. The chemistry department and other departments are well resourced for research. To the context of why I'm here, my presentation will follow this outline. I start with a historical perspective, and this is just an overview for us to put in context how chemistry has influenced the lives of society. Right from alchemy, that was the earliest precursor to chemistry, though it was based on mysticism, and they could not find solutions to what they looked for in terms of transforming base metals to gold and also trying to discover an elixir of life. It set the stage for laboratory techniques and experimentation, and that will lead us to ancient civilizations from Egypt, China, Greece, India, just to mention a few. If your country is part and I don't mention it, forgive me. I'm limited by scope. But these civilizations use basic sciences and chemistry in particular in their various ways of living, in metallurgy, in the materials used in embalming, natural oils, extracts in embalming, extraction of precious metals, molding them into tools, the use of herbal medicine, mummification, extraction of ink, and the production of paper. These glass-making cosmetics, these cut across most of these civilizations. So again, for want of time, I will skip some of them. The Greek philosopher will introduce the concept of the atomic theory, which also deepened the understanding of observation, experimentation, and reasoning, which now we call the scientific method. India will also continue in the same space of metallurgy, glass-making, among others. Unique among them is their Ayurveda medicine, which is still in use, and also introduced laboratory experimentations as well. China was also part of alchemy. They've done metallurgy, gunpowder. Interestingly, seismology can be traced as far as 132 AD, where the Chinese used seismology to predict earthquakes. This will lead us from ancient civilization to the Industrial Revolution, the first, up to where we are today or beyond. And that will take us to mass production of chemicals and manufacturing. So from minute and small-scale levels, the world moves into mass production and expansion, and the production of new materials as well. So you have industries such as sulfuric acid production, industries producing fertilizer, advanced composites, ceramic materials, synthetic dyes, and other chemicals for special applications. Medicine also, since the discovery of morphine and quinine, laid the foundation for synthetic of new drugs, the synthesis. And then we move to environmental and technological progress, waste treatment. With the increase in industrialization and production of new materials comes with the associated environmental challenges. And so this has also seen progress in terms of waste management and of the emissions and the pollution that comes with it, also in the nanoscale as well. Why is chemistry considered a central science? I think we cannot belabor that point. It bridges physical, earth, and life sciences. And so it has applications beyond these fundamental sciences as well. It informs engineering, medicine, and material sciences. Because of this central role of chemistry, it is very fundamental when the world wants to achieve innovation, problem solving, and interdisciplinary research. In my attempt to discuss the contribution of chemistry to modern day society, I look at 4 thematic areas. The first is advances in healthcare delivery. Chemistry has contributed to the development of life-saving medicines. It's obvious through the isolation, synthesis, and development of new products from time to time. And since the discovery of penicillin in 1928, now we know of so many antibiotics and different variants of penicillin itself. And so drug discovery continues from natural sources and then attempts to synthesize what is in nature. Again, advances in targeted drug delivery have come across where medication is no longer targeting all cells, including healthy cells, but specifically designed drugs are created so they target disease cells, and this helps in reduction of side effects associated with medication. There's also personalized medicine. Again, drugs are designed and synthesized and linked to the individual genetic type profile so that they get the best treatment and reduce potential side effects and harm. Again, advances in healthcare with chemistry at the bottom or bedrock of it is in the area of diagnostic tools. Analytical chemistry has helped or has advanced in contributing to the creation of techniques such as biosensors, imaging agents, rapid test kits, which have helped in quick detection of diseases such as cancers, neurological and cardiovascular diseases, diabetes, among others. And quick detection means early intervention and potential salvaging of the situation. Again, innovative therapies such as CRISPR have helped in the treatment of certain cancers and other diseases which otherwise would have not been treated. With the emergence and growth of AI, chemistry is not out of the equation. Chemistry-powered AI drug discovery is also being used to predict molecular interactions and identify promising compounds. So it gives a good range of what is possible and helps to decide on which option to choose, or many options to choose from. Advances in healthcare also in the area of public health, discuss, and data generation. Environmental chemists provide data on air quality, water, soil quality, among others, in the various emissions associated. Carbon dioxide emission has been mentioned in this room, and chemistry is at the bottom of some of these interactions and conversations. So to sum up, we'll say that chemistry's contribution to advances in healthcare, it has contributed to improvement in health and quality of life through the advances, effective treatment of ailments, and increase in life expectancy and lifespan. The next advance I talk about is in the field of agriculture. Biotechnology, genetic engineering, again at the bottom of it, and this works with a lot of chemistry principles underpinning it. CRISPR and plant growth hormones, which are all chemistry in nature, have helped to produce crops of desired characteristics. For example, crops that are disease resistant, crops that are drought resistant, crops that have the essential nutrients desired, and this has overall improved agriculture. In the area of food processing and preservation, chemistry or chemical processes play a role. The use of heat and radiation, for example, in preservation is something worth talking about. Additives have also been used to improve shelf life, reduce waste, and enhance flavor and even appearance of food, which are all essential in terms of consumption of food in the food industry. And the area of soil preservation and fertilizers for soil enrichment to NPK is predominantly chemical. Again, the addition of compost and manure of different variants and advances in that field have contributed to the overall structure and health of soil, which ultimately will contribute to improved yield. We continue with advances in agriculture, plant protection chemicals, all the biopesticides and bioherbicides, otherwise wouldn't have been of bio origin now. Advances in that aspect have contributed to eco-friendly or green approach to agriculture. In so doing, minimizing environmental impacts and improving yield. Precision agriculture, the use of drones, GPS, big data analytics have helped, and precise application of agricultural inputs right from the point of cultivation to application of fertilizer, application of insecticides, among others, with reduction on what is not needed and being targeted to what is needed. So there's reduction in waste and also reduction in environmental emissions or exposure to chemicals, which we'll call the environmental footprint. There's also been advances in sustainable practices, again linked to the precision agriculture, which have led to reduced chemical runoff because just the barest minimum is what is being used. Then there's reduction in the runoff, lowered pesticide residue in food, and then preservation of beneficial organisms in the soil, which overall improves the ecosystem. Advances in nanotechnology, again, has helped in the application of smaller quantities of all these chemicals, agrochemicals, which will still yield the desired result. Nano-enabled remediation also helps to target contaminants and not necessarily introduce techniques to what is not needed. Overall, the benefit here is that there is increase in crop yield and food production, reduction in famine, starvation, and assurance of food security, cultivation of crops with desired characteristics and nutrients. The next advance I talk about is energy production. Biofuels have become a buzzword these days, and there's a whole movement championing whether we go biofuels or we continue to rely on fossil fuel. And so technologies such as conversion of biomass through fermentation, distillation, or acidification, these are all chemical processes helping to produce diesel, alcohol, and other products similar to crude oil. Also, the capture of the sun's radiant energy with the transformative uses of different cells in that field, from traditionally metal-based cells to now organic solar cells and some polymeric materials, have created flexibility of use, and these are also low weight and easy to handle and also come in with low cost compared to the traditional ones. Hydrogen being used, utilized in some jurisdictions, even for driving of some automobiles, which is generated from the splitting of water. Some hydrogen is also generated from microbial activities and also from conversion from biomass. Again, we cannot talk about energy without talking about nuclear energy. We know some jurisdictions rely hugely on nuclear energy, which, apart from the inherent danger that it may pose in terms of its establishment, is very, very green in terms of emissions. And it has transformed a lot of jurisdiction. Basically, transformation of heat produced as a result of nuclear fission, and then the turning of turbines with that heat to produce electricity, which is then stored. Again, when the energy is generated, it has to be stored for later use. It's not generated in situ for the purpose if it's going to go large scale. So chemistry has also contributed in advancements in terms of storage solutions. And I've already made mention of batteries that are being used to store this energy produced, and also talked about some of the new materials. But one that I haven't mentioned is nanostructured polymeric materials and also metal organic frameworks, linking the traditional metal to organic frameworks for batteries and solar cells, which also help with enhancement in efficiency and sustainability of the energy produced. Overall, this is going or has helped in minimizing of waste and environmental pollution, making energy more sustainable and reliable, and limiting the reliance or over-reliance on fossil fuels and reduction of carbon footprint. Last but not the least, in the advancements that I want to present to you this morning is on the chemical industry, and I start with artificial intelligence integration in chemistry. Digitalization of chemical processes linked to advanced technologies like Internet of Things, big data analytics, and cloud computing, with the traditional chemical processes, have helped better decision-making and sustainability. AI-driven processes have helped in optimizing processes, reduction in process time, increase in yield, and also improved product quality. It's estimated that the global AI chemicals market will reach about 12.71 billion by the end of this year. So it's a very fast-growing enterprise. The next on chemical industry is sustainable chemistry and the circular economy. Industries these days are looking for alternative feedstocks such as biomass, plastic waste, and carbon dioxide capture to limit the reliance again on fossil fuel. And then bio-based chemicals offer lower carbon emission and reduce dependence on non-renewable sources. That is being very, very attentive to the principles of green chemistry. Again, nanotechnology and advanced materials are doing so well, and this have improved catalytic activity, selectivity, and stability in various industrial processes. The introduction of high-performance products with exceptional properties such as lightweight, durable composites, self-healing materials, smart coating, and packaging and construction industry have helped improve lives. Electronics and computing. The semiconductor industry relies heavily on chemistry for the manufacture of integrated circuits and transistors. And also, chemistry, the use of LED and OLEDs are driven by chemistry or chemical principles. In summary, we would say that the chemical industry has benefited effectively through efficient and green approaches to production of useful everyday materials and products, mass production of durable and reliable electronics, and the creation of functional and high-performance materials that are sustainable. Now, I've talked about the positive sides of chemistry to our society, but as I invoke the concept of duality of science, chemistry, therefore, can be used for both good and evil. And so I'd like to talk about some of the downsides of chemistry to society. Chemicals and the practice of chemistry is inherently harmful, and therefore the production of chemicals and their use can potentially harm humans and the environment, and we need to be mindful of that. Also, historically and even in recent times, we heard of abuses of chemistry and the use of chemical weapons and wars and all other forms of conflicts. There's a potential for development of use of more chemical weapons if we don't put safeguarding principles or measures in place. In the manufacturing industry and overexploitation of natural resources, chemistry is at the bottom of that, or in the middle. The production of new substances to help improve lives is also associated with the release of new substances. And then these, in the extractive industry, as we go to take up these natural resources, there's creation of problems of environmental pollution. The use of petroleum and its products are associated with the emissions of all the greenhouse gases that we talked about. As we go and exploit or explore natural resources, those that are not renewable get depleted. As we go and take them, the environment gets degraded, and there's pollution and associated climate change. And these are all potential essential risks to humans and the environment. Again, with the advances in agriculture and increase in food productivity and security, it comes with this issue of misuse or overproduction. So a part of the world, or globally, about 931 million tons of food goes to waste. Meanwhile, there's still hunger. So there's no proper distribution of the global food generated. There's excess due to technological interventions in the global north, and then lack in the south due to the absence of technology for excess production and also for preservation. And this amount of food wasted can actually be used to feed the rest of the world that are hungry and still have excess. And about $1 trillion goes into, it's wasted in terms of the quality or the value of the food and also the resources that are needed to manage the waste. So that's food for thought. And emissions associated with wasted food is about 8 to 10% of the global carbon emissions. Again, plastic waste, with the production of new materials, we have different variants of plastics being produced, and this also comes with this consequence of plastic waste. Again, the global north has more technology of dealing with the plastic, reuse, return for some value added and stuff like that, extended user responsibility. Unfortunately, in the south, doesn't have most of these interventions. So there's a lot of ocean plastic waste, which ends up as microplastics. And these are found in fish and other marine mammals. And on land too, microplastics have been found in tubers and other crops that grow in the earth, kind of. So roots and carrots are all food substances that have been found to contain microplastics. And then the world is such that the ocean is not limited by geographical location. So this can have ripple effects on other jurisdictions as well. Next is e-waste. The e-waste industry is said to contribute about 52.2 million tons of e-waste, which is shipped to developing countries, including Ghana. Ghana is big on e-waste, and e-waste is defined as not just waste, but any electronic gadgets that the user have no use for. So it could be functional, but once the primary user has no use for it, it's classified as e-waste. And so these are shipped as second-hand materials to least developed countries who also yearn for some of these gadgets because of economic reasons. And so they end up some useful, some partially useful, some completely scrap, and it's contributing to environmental issues in some of these countries. So advances in technology where people can afford the newest technology, on the other side, means a lot of waste is being generated for those who cannot afford and have to rely on second-hand goods. The consequences of these, to mention but a few, as I said initially, are not localized. They are global in nature because environmental challenges are not restricted by geographical locations. The carrots in Ghana that has microplastics in them can be shipped to Belgrade, when we're looking at environmental residue in food, I don't think plastic residue is one of the indicators that are checked, at least not yet. So it's possible that these can be shipped over, and so the consequences affect all humanity ultimately. And so again, food for thought. In conclusion, therefore, I would like to say that chemistry plays an important role in addressing global challenges like climate change, sustainable development, and public health, even though it also contributes to that. And it's evident that chemistry will continue to shape our world and improve our lives. The future of chemistry holds promise by pursuing the advances made in nanotechnology, biotechnology, and material science while opening up new possibilities in AI-driven chemistry. I propose a multi-stakeholder approach to responsible practice and consumption. So I'd like to invoke SDG 12, involving individuals, scientists, and all researchers, policymakers, industry leaders, and civil society to ensure an equitable share both of the risks and benefits associated with chemistry and its application. I'd like to acknowledge my Vice Chancellor for the permission she granted me to come to the Conference Secretariat Planning Committee, particularly Prof. Nebosha, for everything he had to go through so that I can come here, and to you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Marian Nkansah, for this comprehensive presentation of the benefits and also the dangers of chemistry for society. So before I give the floor to the room, I want to ask our speakers to shortly mention avenues to better understand how basic sciences and applied sciences could contribute to a sustainable future, to humanity reconciliation, to even to Earth-humanity reconciliation, or to Earth-humanity coalition, having in mind a future with equitable well-being on a healthy planet, which is what we got from the previous presentations. So how, using your field, how sciences, basic and applied, could contribute to that. So I start with Borko. 2 minutes.
Can I have 1 minute on? Again, my field is AI, and I think we all have to focus now on AI. And I would mention, of course, sustainability can be part of AI, and the whole conference is on this. They ask, I will tell you something, they ask one of the managers in the US, are you afraid that you're going to lose job because of AI? And he answered, I'm not afraid that I'm going to lose job. I'm afraid that my competitor will learn AI and implement AI, competitor company, better than I or faster than our company, and because we're going to lose customers. So my message is that I'm talking to companies in US and everywhere else, we have to all learn how to use AI. I'm not talking only about individual, about the companies. And this will, I'm sure, help sustainability and everything else. So AI is something that we are going to live now forever. So if we start ignoring AI in the companies, we're going to lose customers and everything else.
Yes, thank you. Marian mentioned that in chemistry she would like to see multi-stakeholders, so participative science, co-constructed science with citizens. This could apply to AI also, no? To have the input from citizens on what they would like to have with AI. Have you a way to involve citizens in constructing AI?
Involve citizens to construct AI? No, I would say that we should involve citizens to use AI. Probably everybody today is use ChatGPT. However, there are many other tools Just before I went to my trip, I'm teaching one of the classes, and I gave students exercise, something that I'm interested. I went to ChatGPT. I found about 50 different tools that can help academia for different reasons. I told students everyone has to test one of the tools, see the price, see the performance, and so on, when I come back to propose what we can use in the classes. So we can use in any area now. In any, I'm doing now with, I convinced one of the company, probably you know, Scepter International in Belgrade. They have a special marketing strategy, very obsolete and very old. We are now final negotiation with our president, Mr. Scepter, how to now improve AI in marketing, how to do new type of marketing.
Yeah, but you have only one direction. In fact, you are using the data from citizens. So in some sense, citizens should have a right to see how AI evolve, no? Don't you think so?
Yeah, of course. But my point is the citizens have to be proactive. If you sit home and do nothing, then today there are lots of AI classes on the internet, even free classes or very inexpensive classes to learn the basic of AI. ChatGPT is the basic, and everybody can use basic in ChatGPT to get information, to do many interesting things that even I discovered recently.
Okay, thank you. Now I turn to Gian Giudice. How CERN could involve citizens in this big science so that it's not a top-down approach of science, but a co-constructed science?
Yes, I think when we are addressing issues like sustainability, the role of science is fundamental, and it's worrisome that we see today in the world so many people questioning the value of science. Think about global warming, vaccines, and so on. So that is, first, as scientists, I think we should make clear this message. The second is this trying to put basic science and applied science as one alternatives or one against the other. As I was arguing also in my presentation, I think that science doesn't work that way. It's a global environment, and you can't expect progress just by focusing on one thing. I mean, if you put all your research in improving candles, you're not going to discover the light bulb. And this is the risk of abandoning the role of fundamental science or basic science with respect to applied science. We need science is a global environment. It's an ecosystem that requires small and large animals. We've seen it throughout history, and I think CERN is trying to push very much that. I mean, there are examples even of spin-offs that really have an impact. For instance, I can tell you one. I mean, Michel, you know it very well, but an experiment that was done at CERN, which is called CLOUD, which is an experiment that used techniques of particle physics and simulates the effect of cosmic rays for cloud formations, and has made some important discoveries, for instance, of the role of vapors from trees in cloud formation, which obviously have a crucial impact on climate. So here we go, that from a research which was purely based on fundamental science, on particle physics, we come out with results that could have not been obtained in other ways. So I really want to strengthen that in the public debates about these issues. Basic science and applied science should not be put as alternatives or one against the others, but they are part of science.
Thank you. If I may add, although I am a little bit biased, CERN is doing a lot of effort to connect to citizens. In fact, they are now welcoming 400,000 visitors per year in the famous new building, the Science Gateway, built by Raton. And there is a foundation, a CERN Society, for education, innovation, and art and sciences, which is very active. I am presently the chair of the board, so as I said, I am a little bit biased.
Yes, I think that's another role that basic science can play. You know, this role of imagination, of offering to the public something that is exciting, and then people, I'm thinking especially young people, can approach sciences, and those then will work on society and so on, but with this background of understanding the motivation of science. So that role of outreach, of education is fundamental, and basic science is a perfect tool to do that because obviously stimulates the mind a lot.
Thank you, Gian. Hugo?
Yes. Okay, a very quick note, because we have been touching many subjects, very interesting ones, and I would like to connect to what Professor Furht said about artificial intelligence, which is, in my experience, an extremely important support to small science. Using artificial intelligence, we can do things that once were impossible for single scientists, for people with no high financing, because the results that I showed you would not have been possible without tools provided by artificial intelligence, like data collection, literature search, data processing, plotting, analyzing, and all this kind. And programming, you want to analyze the data, and you can ask your AI, write a program for me to analyze this data. And it will do it, normally it will not work, but it's already the poor thing that did what it could, or he could, or she could, I'm not sure. So anyway, so it is very important that we have this tool. In my experience, it cannot yet replace a human scientist, but maybe in the future.
Thank you very much. So, Marian, can you say a few words about this possible multi-stakeholders approach to chemistry?
Yes, thank you very much. So I believe, as I've already established, chemistry particularly is central. So it's quite easy to collaborate with people about chemistry and in the production of new molecules for treatment of diseases, collaborate with engineers in building new devices for the things we need. But I would rather like to highlight on, again, North-South collaboration. So far with the knowledge gained globally, knowledge is not universally widespread. So how do we get the knowledge widespread so that it's not just transdisciplinary, but transboundary knowledge exchange? And so I was very happy about the presentation by Mena from UNESCO, where now young scientists in particular are being given the opportunity to access knowledge even remotely, because when you travel to space, it's more costly, but you're opening it so that more individuals can benefit without necessarily moving from where they are. So how do we, make knowledge more universal? Through collaboration. If we're able to collaborate, again, transnational, translocations, globally, and knowledge is widespread, the problems associated with either the absence of knowledge or too much knowledge will be reduced because it's widespread. So that if it's technology that is creating the problems, the same people will be those finding the solutions to the problems generated by technology. But if one side is only at the receiving end product of the technology, they might not be in a position to contribute to the solutions associated with the problems that technological advancement is creating.
Michel, can I add
Yes, yes.
something? I would like to add something that we are doing in the States and everywhere else. Always they say follow the money. Whenever something, follow the money. And we are following where money is. Which one is the biggest company in the world? Abusha, do you know? Anybody knows?
BlackRock.
Which one?
BlackRock.
No.
BlackRock. Is it
Anybody knows?
BlackRock? No.
NVIDIA. $4.45 trillion market capitalization. NVIDIA 3-4 years ago was, who knows, at the 100th place. Why? Because they are leaders in AI chips. They have phenomenal chips everybody's using, even Chinese. Trump is selling even to China one of their products, H20. Who was number one company several years ago? Apple. Apple is now third, fourth. Why? Because they forgot on AI, and now they're coming back. Their CEO, Cook, is a very good operator, but doesn't have like Steve Jobs, intelligence and innovation. Which one is number two? Microsoft. Why Microsoft? Because they forgot Windows. Windows still exists. They started building cloud computing for AI. AI needs cloud computing with 4.2 million. Who is number three? Oracle suddenly became number three. They are building infrastructure for AI. Apple is now still on the top, number 4. They just announced iPhone 17. My suggestion, don't buy it. Why? Next year, they're coming with iPhone AI. They came up, they hired lots of AI people. New AI phone next year they just mentioned a few days ago, it's gonna be there. You will have lots of AI tools. Then, answer to your question, anybody will have in the hands all these tools. Now you have to go to the internet, find what I'm gonna use, ChatGPT maybe. You will have on iPhone number of tools. Of course, they will increase the price. They're talking about $1,500, but it's gonna be worth. So following the money, we know where we are. And this is my opinion. Follow where we are going and follow these directions.
Thank you. So we have, thank you very much. We have a little time, bit of time, maybe 15 minutes, for questions or comments from the room. So I see.
Well, in our enthusiasm to use AI, we have to remember that it's an assistive tool, and that if that's what we need, we have a lot of data that need analysis and it can put it together. But AI can never create the flexibility and the creativity of the human mind. You are talking about replacing scientists, but it will never replace the human mind and the imagination. It's a tool, like many tools, like when they started with a hand axe millions of years ago, now they have AI. So that's my, I'd like to add, if I can, that I was experimenting with teaching when I was at Qatar University. I was invited Qatar University to teach and to introduce a new program of social sciences. And everybody in Qatar, given its prosperity, are very high tech. The students were wearing the latest watches and so on. I was embarrassed. I was using old computers and they were using the latest. Their computers don't last 2 months and they have to change to new models. Anyway, I looked at their use of technology and whether there is learning going on in the classroom, and I found that there is a negative relationship. So I asked the dean to stop all technology in my classroom only, just remove, no PowerPoints, no AI, they are not allowed to take their laptops nor their telephones, and I want a chalkboard. In fact, the dean said, we don't have any chalk in Qatar. And I told her, well, you just get it. If you get the breakfast every morning for your emir, you can get chalk for me. And they did. Next morning, I had a chalkboard and chalk. And the learning, ever since I stopped the technology was very visible. The students were beginning to think, to put together ideas, to create, whereas before they were just like robots. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a comment. You said that artists are creative and imaginative. Scientists are also creative and imaginative. And it is the same. They share these two capabilities. Yes, we have still 10 minutes. We started 15 minutes late, so we can finish 15 minutes late. So, another question.
I can speak now. Or is it somebody else? Thank you. I'm just remembering, I'll be as brief as I can, when email came on the scene. I was working at British Gas on carbon dioxide sensors, and everyone was excited about email because of what it would do. And we now find that because of email, the carbon footprint of email is actually greater than the paperless society that was promised as a result of email. I have a worry about AI on the same front, because we haven't mentioned the energy consumption. Nobody's said anything about that. And also the de-employment it could create. What's the social impact of that? And the negative impact on growth because of that. But a point for Ugo on the side of this, I wondered what the delay of carbon dioxide in the human brain was. If you took a gulp of carbon dioxide, it may be worth looking at fizzy drinks. Because when people drink fizzy drinks, the carbon dioxide settles in the glass, and as they drink it, they breathe it. I'm wondering if that has a greater impact than the background increase.
I'm not sure I understood the question.
Yeah, you drink when you sparkling drinks. You take CO2.
The stocking CO2, yeah, that's one technology which is being developed. It's still very expensive, not used. I think the best right now is to use algae. That's the most efficient photosynthetic machine.
I was wondering if the exposure to carbon dioxide because of fizzy drinks.
Say, I suggest something. We discussed that together over lunch.
Okay, one question there. I think after that we will finish.
Žiga, University of Ljubljana, Slovenia. I have also a question for Mr. Bardi, actually two questions. The first one, you somehow linked the growth of intelligence in humans with a better ratio between CO2 and O2. How come we are not observing anything like that in other living beings, in animals? And the other question, there are many studies that would tell you that the cognitive ability of people decreases if CO2 concentration move beyond 1,000 and above. Okay, this may be also the result of our industrial civilization, but how would you compare the degrading of that cognitive ability on one side and the improvement of cognitive ability, because these students are in well air-conditioned and well-heated rooms, not to mention that they may use calculators and they may use artificial intelligence to augment their decision-making. So there seem to be some trade-offs.
That's a complex question. We raised several points, and I think the fundamental point that I presented it is on the basis of what we know right now. We think that the oxygen to CO2 ratio is a very important parameter, and the point that I tried to make was that if we keep lowering this parameter, and we risk to send evolution in reverse. That is to go back from Homo sapiens back to Neanderthal habilis, and that is also will have probably the same effect on your brain. And so this is, it's a work we are in progress. We are working on it. If you like to discuss it, I think our moderator is trying to tell us we have to stop. So, but we can discuss that more in detail if you like. It would be a pleasure.
So I don't see any other questions or comments, and we are under pressure of time. So we close this session. And we thank again our panelists for their contribution to the session.